We have our first confirmed artists for Eurovision 2026. Canada might be joining the Eurovision family. Moldova are back, and we also have tons of national final news. We need a Eurovision 2026 news update. Let's kiki. Hi, my name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. I went in a bit early with the click there, never mind. Tons of news to cover today. Quick shout out, I've just put out my Eurovision 1962 episode on the YouTube channel here, and I've put the 1973 edition up early onto my Patreon with the original audio. Go check that out. Let's get into the first story, which is about Cyprus. They've announced their artists for Eurovision 2026. This is our first artist announcement this year, and it is Antigoni. I think she pronounced it Antigoni in Greek, perhaps, but I just watched an episode of Love Island. I'll explain why. And in that episode, she said Antigoni herself, so let's just stick with that. Let's check out the announcement clip to get an idea of the new graphics we might be getting. And we see her there. We have this first graphic here with the lines. So could that give us an indication of what art we'll be getting this year in Austria? And we also have this new flag, which I hate. It's too thick. I'm actually using the old flags because I don't like the new ones. I think they look busted. Then we have that swiping into the new artwork that we have this year for the 70 with this chameleon heart. And then we have a picture of her. She's in this, like, this thing here. This looks like kind of cheap to me. It looks like one of the things you can do on like those free apps where it's like you have a slideshow option and you can put it in. So yeah, not hugely impressed by that. But then we go into a thing and we have the ending of Wasted Love, which I really, really like, which reminds me of in Malmo when we had the artist reveals, we had the start of Tattoo playing at it, which was really, really cool. So these artist reveal videos are kind of important. They can be really, really fun and cool. I think this one's pretty good. I give it a B or C. It could be a little bit better. So let's find out a little bit more about Antigoni. She was Marina Sadi's support act, and she was on season 8 of Love Island. She didn't find love, unfortunately. Spoiler alert. She was the main support for Marina Sadi, so she's already done a bit of a Euro tour, and presumably maybe she had some connections with Marina Sadi, or Marina got into the loop, or maybe Marina said, I had a great experience or not so good experience. But definitely there would have been some conversation with Marina, I would guess, saying, should I do this, shouldn't I? Or can you hook me up with a gig representing Cyprus? Okay, so I can't believe we're on this, but we're on the Love Island wiki page. Her name is Antigoni Buxton. She entered the village. She was only there for a week, unfortunately. She was unloved or unmatched. I do not watch Love Island. I'm so sorry. No, she was dumped. Sorry, status dumped. Goodness, the show's brutal. But yeah, she's got a North London accent. She looks really fun and bubbly. I've just watched a little bit of Love Island, and she came across as really sunny, spirited and fun. So I think she's going to be a little bit beloved in the Eurovision community. I can't play any clips from Love Island because I'm pretty sure it would be copyrighted. But here's her official YouTube page. She's got 8,000 subscribers, 180 videos. And this video here is the one I checked out. You Can Have Him. Actually, it's kind of interesting. It starts off and it's a little bit more acoustic, and then it gets a little bit more, I didn't watch the whole thing, I watched like bits of it. It gets a little bit more energy towards the end. But it does look like a lot of her songs, she's into like a more stripped back acoustic version. So I think she's pretty good vocally. Okay, I'm only playing you that short clip because otherwise I'll get copyrighted. But yeah, like I think she's got some pretty decent vocals on her. Hopefully they choose the song better this year, because the problem with Theo Evan was they gave him such a difficult vocal while also making him do the most on stage, like running around in the Olympics. So hopefully there's just a bit more strategic here. But I would love if they started her off with something acoustic and then it grows into a girly bop. I do associate Cyprus having girly bops, and I love having my dose of girly bops every year in Eurovision. And she's got a great look. I think she's pretty confident dancing. So yeah, I would love like a hybrid song. Set people's expectations differently. Maybe have a costume reveal and have a little bit of a fuego moment at the end. Could be super, super fun. I'm really, really excited for this. I have to admit, this is kind of like very standard fare for Cyprus. They do tend to choose like beautiful people with a pop aesthetic. Even with Theo Evan last year, he had like a darker side in his videos and they just didn't really use that. So I feel like the Cypriot delegation take these artists and popify them. So hopefully Antigoni's got a strong voice and she can say, well, actually, let's put in some of my more kind of earthy acoustic roots as well. But for me, Cyprus's persona in Eurovision is definitely pop, bubblegum, high energy, beautiful artists, and a lot of diaspora. So this is standard fare, but I'm excited. And the Girly Pop stands are going crazy on Twitter. They're so hyped, which is good. I love having Girly Pops in Eurovision. I think they get underrated, particularly by the juries. Don't think they get enough respect for how difficult it is to move around. Anyway, let's wait and see, because it might not even be a Girly Pop song. Maybe we should be doing an acoustic ballad. I hope not, because the Girly Pop stands are going to go crazy. Final thing about this, it brings back this really, really bizarre questionnaire that I talked about in my last episode. What were they doing with that? One potential theory is that they had Antigoni lined up, but they were maybe having some doubts, so they wanted some reassurance. The first question on the questionnaire was, do you want a male-female duo or band? Maybe they got the responses back and it was 90% female, and they're like, okay, that's the reassurance we needed. Maybe it was an issue with the song, they couldn't pick which song. But if that's the case, just hold a national final. I'd like them to do a national final for her to help pick her song, give an acoustic song, give a dancey song. Let's see what she's like performing and what's her strongest aspect. But I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting this to be internal selection. Still great to have our first artist named for Eurovision 2026. Next up, we have some drama from across the pond. ESC Discord reporting that the Canadian government, in its 2025 budget released today, has stated it is working with CBC Radio Canada to explore participation in Eurovision. CBC is an associate member and would need an invitation from the EBU to participate. In case you don't know, in 2015, Australia joined Eurovision for the 60th anniversary. They were also an associate member and got an invitation. So this is definitely something that could happen. Budget 2025 proposes to provide 150 million Canadian dollars in 25-26. The government will explore modernizing the mandate to strengthen independence and is working with CBC to explore participation in Eurovision. And this was brought up on news. I'm not going to play this for you because it's probably copyrighted, but he's saying he thinks it's a platform for Canada to shine and for protecting their sovereignty. He's basically talking about showing off Canada around the world, and we have a lot to show as Canadians. So that's an interesting statement from François-Philippe Champagne, who is the Canadian Finance and Revenue Minister. So he's just kind of having like confirmation that this is happening. Before I give you my thoughts on this, let's keep going. Callum Rowe, who's from Eurotrip Podcast, says he received a one-line response from the Canadian broadcaster whether it was in talks to enter Eurovision, and the response was, we have no information to share at this time, which is not a no. It's not a yes, it's not a no. And finally, Prime Minister Mark Carney is involved in the push to see Canada compete. This is from Eurovoix. Apparently, he is personally involved in pushing first country's participation in Eurovision. He's a secret Eurovision stan. CBC is part of our Canadian identity. Canada's new government is protecting our national broadcaster by ensuring it has the resources needed to modernise and better deliver for Canadians and to continue providing vital programming in both French and English. The EBU has confirmed that discussions are at an early stage. And Canada is one of 3 countries with a broadcaster with associate membership that are currently trying to compete. Kosovo and Kazakhstan have also stated their wish to compete in the contest. It's actually one aspect I didn't think of. Would this cause conflicts if Canada got in before Kosovo and Kazakhstan? Okay, so what are my thoughts on this? I'm really excited. I think this sounds really fun. First of all, a practical element, it makes sense because the time zone works quite well. You know, you look at Kazakhstan and the show would be happening very late at night, whereas in Canada, it would be happening during the day, so people could actually watch it. That's actually another issue with Australia as well, is that it's shown at like 4 a.m. So Canada actually makes sense in terms of a primetime TV show. I also think that there's a huge amount of cultural and political overlap between Canada and Europe. One of their official languages is French. They've got universal healthcare. I feel like Canada has a lot more in common with Europe than America does. You know, there's a lot of talk about America potentially joining Eurovision, which I would be against. I just think that the US has too much power and influence and could potentially just push things around too much. But Canada, it's a smaller population. They're much more in line with this. I would love Canada to join. I'm just going to be real with you. I would love it. I feel like Eurovision is about building connections, and I would love to have a strong relationship with Canada. I lived in Vancouver for 4 months. I loved it. Their money's called toonies and loonies. Okay, but is this actually going to happen? I have to admit, them saying exploring implies to me more 2027, but from the EBU's perspective, I think they would rather have this as a 70th anniversary because it kind of makes more sense. Why you invited Canada? Well, it's the 70th anniversary. We did that with the 60th anniversary with Australia, so it kind of makes sense. And because it's an invitation thing, I don't think it fits the normal rules. We have to apply by a certain date and pay by a certain date. So I think that this is something that the EBU could fast track if they were really keen. It's up to CBC to kind of like speed things up a little bit because we are kind of latish in the season. The announcement about Australia in 2015 happened on February 10th, I believe. So we're still 3 months away from that. I think that's plenty of time to organize it. And, you know, they just need to organize an internal selection, I would guess. We did have talks about the Canada Song Contest. I'm not sure if that happened or if it just like disappeared. A lot of these other song contests just come into existence and then disappear in the wind. But yes, I personally would welcome this. Do I think it'll happen this year? I feel kind of 50-50. I don't feel like it's impossible because it's a special invitation. If they were going through a regular method, like Monaco would have to, for example, I don't think it would happen. I think it's too late. But like, think of all the potential artists we could have as well. Celine Dion, Carly Rae Jepsen, Drake, Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber and Celine Dion doing a duet on a giant moon. Incredible. Sign me up. Next up, we have news that Moldova are returning to Eurovision 2026 after taking a 1-year hiatus. The reveal was made on the official Eurovision Instagram. They've also announced that the Moldovan national final will take place on January 17th at Arena Chisinau. Am I saying that right? Marking the first time the event will be held in the arena. And finally, they've announced further details on the national final. The long list of acts will be selected by TRM and producers for live auditions, but the live auditions will not be broadcast live this year. Heartbreak in the Eurovision community. This is one of the iconic things about the Moldova national final, is these slightly horrific live auditions where people read off phones and Tudor Bumbach does his thing and that other person always shows up with a dodgy song. The final details: 5 to 10 finalists will be selected for the live national final. There will be an international jury, a national jury, and televote. They will have 1/3 strength each. TRM will financially support the winners' participation. So lots of conspiracy theories coming out of this, which I'm going to talk about later. But this for me makes absolute and utter sense. Last year, Moldova pulled out because the quality wasn't there. They weren't happy with the songs. They weren't happy with the entries that they had. And then they had that meeting, which I covered in a previous episode, where you could see a lot of previous Moldovan contestants sitting around having a discussion about the future of Moldova in the contest. This, for me, makes absolute and utter total sense that this is what's come out of it. Because if I was an artist, I would be saying, we need to take this more seriously. You know, as much as people love the live auditions, it really is kind of a little bit of a laughing stock. That's not the way to attract the best talent in your country. So holding it in an arena raises the prestige. Having closed auditions means that if there is anything low quality, it's not going to be shown. All of this makes sense to me. This is like what I would expect to come out of that meeting if TRM were serious. Key thing for me as well is that they're going to financially support the winners' participation, because I think that's one thing in the past that's been really, really limiting, is that Moldova's essentially put a lot of the expenses onto the artists, and I just don't think that's fair. So that opens up the door now for way more people to apply, hopefully get some up and coming talent. Moldova's kind of been in a pattern of having a lot of returnees, and it does seem like it's very limited who can represent them because you need to have that financial backing. So it's so restraining. I think this is what Moldova needs to be more competitive. So I really love these changes. Hopefully the national finalists have a little bit more quality, a little bit more prestige. I'm going to miss auditions. I'm not saying I'm not going to miss them, but yeah, having closed auditions is for the greater good for Moldova. Okay, so we have Romania, Moldova, and Bulgaria returning to the contest, and then also this news of Canada. And because of this, Twitter's been going absolutely crazy with all these conspiracy theories about that the EBU or others are giving funds or discounts so that countries can return because they're in a panic about the 4 countries potentially withdrawing. I don't think this is correct personally. Myself and others spoke earlier in the season about how if a lot of countries withdrew, that could have a problem for the semi-finals. But for me, 4 was never going to be enough. It needed to be 8, 9. With 4 countries withdrawing and Moldova always going to come back. That is not a surprise that Moldova came back. It was very much expected. That would bring participating countries down to 34, which is 14 in each semi-final, which is more than enough to run it. I think you could still run a semi-final even with 13 in each semi. 12 gets a bit weird. So I disagree that the EBU was in a panic because of low numbers, because I just don't think 4 was enough. If it had been 8 or 10, I think that they would have been panicking big time. For me, Moldova, Romania, and Bulgaria coming back is really normal. We got the artwork for the 70th edition way back in mid-August, which implies to me that they had meetings in June and July and they were planning out what they're going to do. There's no way that they didn't talk in that meeting. How do we get as many countries back for the 70th edition? And that was before the threats of boycotting started with Slovenia. So they definitely would have reached out to all these countries in June, July and started to try luring them back. That is a priority over coming up with new artwork. So I just don't buy this conspiracy theory that's going around that in the last month or so there's been a panic and the EBU has bribed these 2 countries to come back. And I just don't don't think the low participating numbers was actually that big an issue because it was only 4 drawing and not 8 or more. I still believe that the General Assembly is going to happen in December. There has to be a vote. There's no consensus. EBU is a broadcasting union of all these different countries. There's no consensus on what to do. The only way to break that is a vote. Okay, next up, let's go to news from North Macedonia. According to more meeting notes from October 27th, the council thinks that North Macedonia should not participate in 2026 in order to enable participation in 2027. This backs up something that I said in a previous episode where Bobby Andonoff was saying it was more likely that stuff was going to happen in 27 than 26. I'm not expecting North Macedonia back in 26. 27 seems quite likely, but it just seems too last minute right now. They just don't sound organized to me. Yet theoretically, if the EBU is desperate, they could bend some rules to get them in. So how many countries are going to be competing in Eurovision 2026? We have this clip from Alexander Amiel, who is the head of delegation for adult and junior Eurovision in France. Let's listen to what she had to say.
J'analyse les choses et en même temps je suis très positive. Donc
I'm analyzing everything around me and at the same time I'm very positive.
Je continue à y croire.
I continue to believe or to think. Croire is like believe, think.
41 pays qui concourent, donc bien sûr une chance sur 41 de
41 countries.
pouvoir gagner. Je pense que la persévérance fera qu'on y arrivera.
She's saying, with perseverance, we can get there. So this quote is being completely manipulated in some of the Eurovision news websites. Like, it's very obvious there. She's saying she wants there to be 41 or she hopes. She's not saying 41 countries are going to be there. I've seen a couple of news websites quoting her saying that there will be 41 countries. She's clearly not saying that at all. She wants there to be 41 or she hopes. She's feeling positive about it. But we had this exact same thing from her last year where she said she hoped there would be 40. Yeah, this is her opinion. Okay, let's check out some national final news, and we have some clues from UMK, Finland's national final. So the new clues are on the left here in the black, and the ones on the right are the clues we got before. Brings an intense atmosphere from another world. Ooh, it's an alien. There would be 2 complementary artists in a hot mood, so that sounds spicy. A singer-songwriter who saw the world at a young age. So these are quite cryptic. Now, these are translated from Finnish, so there might be some wordplay we're missing out on. 4, that would be an artist who has built a career with determination and achieved major milestones. So it could be quite a big artist. 5, an artist whose music contains dark and mystical undertones. It looks like the clues aren't syncing because this 5th one just mentions one artist and number 5 on the other one is talking about a duo. So I don't know if they've been shuffled up a little bit. Number 6, one thing I can say is that tens of thousands have enjoyed this music live. So again, could be someone quite established. And number 7, then there's the one who's been a trailblazer in different scenes. So like these are meant to be gloriously vague. You're not meant to work out who it is. It's meant to whet your appetite and it works. This makes me super excited for UMK, but I'm still totally clueless. One of my Patreons is Finnish and she went through and get these very, very detailed guesses about who it could all be, which were excellent. But every time I see people's guesses, they're all over the place. So it'll be really, really exciting when we finally see the artist reveal. It's usually early January, isn't it? I did a live stream for it last year. Okay, next up we have some news from Festival of Kungas, and someone actually got access to the Festival of Kungas app. You can see here this new logo. It's version 1.0. So really, really looking forward to this new app. I love what El Haida Dani is doing with Festival of Kungas. Just like opening it up to more people around the world, modernizing it, cleaning it up, getting rid of any riggery, making it feel more fair. She's doing a wonderful job. I really feel like this is going to affect Albania's results in the coming years. 8th place in 25. I think they can get into a hot streak if they just stay on the right trajectory. But yeah, we're really excited to test out this new FIC app when Festival of Kungas is happening December 17th to 20th. Okay, we have some news from Sanremo, and the artists for Sanremo Giovani, which is like the youth competition in Sanremo, their songs are out. So if you want some up and coming Italian artist music, you can see here all of these different songs. I'm not playing them. My God, Sanremo copyright is devilishly awful. So, but you can see here lots and lots. I think there's 24 songs in total. I listened to a couple of them. They're really well produced. So if you want your fix of Sanremo now, you can go check that out. So my understanding is some of these will go into the newcomers section in Sanremo 2026. And then usually the winner gets an invitation into Sanremo next year. So Settembre, who won the newcomers edition this year, is expected to be in Sanremo 2026 with a new song, obviously. So yeah, go check that out if you love your Italian ballads and bops. Okay, Junior Eurovision news. There's been a huge flurry of Junior Eurovision songs released, which I'm going to cover most of them. I'm really looking forward actually to the Ireland one. And apparently San Marino's got a bop this year. I've also seen hype for Armenia and Georgia. France have got a great song, which I've already reacted to. So does Spain. I think it's going to be a good quality year. This is the running order that's been released. We can see, from what I understand with Junior Eurovision, 1st and 18th place are drawn, I think, randomly, and then everyone else is done by producers. That was the old system. If it's changed, leave me a comment down below. So Malta and Albania seem to have drawn those lots, and then everyone else has been put in. France here getting a great slot in 17th spot. I think definitely contenders to win. I'll cover that more when I've heard all of the songs. I've only heard 5 of them so far. But yeah, very exciting to have the running order. The show is happening on December 15th, I think. Okay, we have a couple of new names for Melody Festival, and the first is Often Blooded are reporting this, by the way, in case you're keeping track of the score between them and Expressen. Idol participant Indra Elg, who I believe is this lady here, I'm going to guess. And then punk rock band Korslagdor. That A looks like it should have an O on top of it. But yeah, really great to have some different music. I love when Melody Festival has a little bit more representation. So great, we have a punk rock band there. And then more news, Expressen are reporting that 02, a duo from Örnsköldsvik, did I say that right? Made up of Jakob Westerlund and Wilmer Öberg, will compete. They look kind of interesting actually, don't they? I just did a zoom. They look really interesting, kind of like a different vibe. Singer-songwriter, male duet as well. I really do get the feeling Melfest is trying to just broaden its horizons a little bit. I still think it's going to be largely established pop names in the final, but still interesting that they're putting some variety into the heats. And finally, let's check out the Eurovision calendar courtesy of Eurovision World. We have 186 days left, and let's check out what's happening in November. We had our artist announcements for Cyprus. We're still waiting on the songs from Festival Kungas in Albania and Supernova in Latvia. So freaking hyped for those. Who's going to be first? Let's get a little competition going so that they'll release the songs earlier. And then December is going to be pretty poppin'. We have the artist for Malta Song Contest announced on the 1st December. Junior Eurovision is on the 13th, sorry, not the 15th. On the 15th, we have the artist for Vibir announced, and hopefully we'll get the songs pretty soon after that. And then we have Festival Kungas kicking off on the 17th for 4 days. The final is on the 20th. And then we have Monte Song the day after that. That's going to be a really, really fun weekend before Christmas. And then things really starting to pop off in January. We have our first Super Saturday here with Moldova and Malta choosing on the same night. A week later, Luxembourg at this point in time having their night all to themselves. Melody Festivalen is kicking off the week after that. I think it's the first time it's been starting in January for quite a long time. 14th of January as well, Finnish and Polish artists announced. Really, really exciting. I might do a live stream. Hopefully they're timed close to each other and I can do a long stream of that. And then February, this Valentine's Day is just popping. If you're single and you want to hang out with me on Valentine's Day, we can watch Dance, MGP, SD Lau, Benidorm Fest, Supernova, and Poland Decides. 5 national finals. Please no more. That's already enough. Why does no one want to be on the 4th of February here? This Saturday is empty. And you can see this Saturday afterwards on the 21st is empty as well. I wish these national finals would communicate with each other and just spread themselves out. Though Saturday after that, we have UMK and Sanremo. We still have these ones left to announce. So Germany Decides, Door and Vibir. So hopefully they choose this 21st so that we don't have all these people choosing at the same time when we can't watch. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff coming out. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any of my live streams when they happen. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting me on PayPal and Buy Me Coffee. If you want to support the channel, I'll leave the QR code over here and I'll link in the description. And of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons and YouTube members from all around the world. If you want lots of fun Eurovision stuff and some exclusives and all original audio, go check out my Patreon. But of course, thank you so much just for being here. See you in another Eurovision news update very soon. Goodbye.